I was 28 years old when I watched a 7'4" woman lift Bruce Lee off the floor of Madison Square Garden. I am 81 now. I have not told this story in 53 years. The doctors told me last March. Pancreatic cancer, stage 3. They gave me 11 months, maybe 14 if I am lucky. I have not been lucky in 53 years, so I am telling it now. My name is Tony Marchetti. They called me Tony. In October 1971, I was the personal assistant to Vince McMahon Sr., the owner of Capital Wrestling Corporation. I had worked for him for 4 years. He hired me when I was 24. He paid me $87 a week. I drove his car. I picked up his cash. I handled the things he did not want to handle himself. The contracts, the injuries, the women, the men who knew too much. On the night of October 14th, 1971, my job was the closing act. The closing act was a woman named Helga Brennan. Helga Brennan was 7 feet 4 inches tall. She weighed 340 pounds. She had not lost a wrestling match in 7 years. Her record was 89 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. She had broken the wrist of an Olympic judo silver medalist in 1969. She had ended the careers of 3 professional wrestlers in 1970. The men who promoted her called her the Iron Valkyrie. The men who wrestled her called her something else. Most of them called her nothing. They couldn't speak for weeks afterward. What happened in the basement of Madison Square Garden over the next 47 minutes is why Helga retired in February 1972 at the height of her career. It is why Vince McMahon Sr. paid me $400 in cash to never write about that night. It is why I still have the contract she signed at 11:34 p.m. The one that proves what Bruce Lee gave her was worth more than her undefeated record. His name was Bruce Lee. He was 30 years old. He weighed 138 pounds. He had walked into the wrong basement. Or so we all thought. October 1971. Richard Nixon was president. The Vietnam War was 4 years from ending. Madison Square Garden was 3 years old in its current location at the corner of 7th Avenue and 33rd Street. Vince McMahon Sr. ran Capital Wrestling Corporation, what would later become the WWF, what would later become the WWE. He owned half the wrestling territory east of the Mississippi River. Female wrestling was not legal in most of America in 1971. It was illegal in 27 states. It was legal but heavily restricted in 23 states. New York was one of those 23. Female wrestlers could not wrestle on the same card as men. They could not be promoted in headline positions. They could not appear on television. They were paid 1/10 of what male wrestlers earned. Helga Brennan was the highest paid female wrestler in America. She earned $87 per match. Buddy Rogers, the male champion that year, earned $4,000 per match. On the night of October 14th, McMahon Sr. was running a private exhibition card in the basement training facility of the Garden. 47 men in suits. No press, no cameras. The purpose: convince ABC television to launch a wrestling program in 1972. The Knicks had played the Bullets upstairs. They had won 108-102. 19,000 fans were leaving the Garden. Down below, in a 40 by 40 foot training mat room, the closing act was warming up. Helga Brennan was the closing act. I had been told to make sure the closing act went well. I had been told a 6'7" Greek-American wrestler named Spiros Karadimos would face Helga. I had been told Spiros would win. I had been paid $2,000 in an envelope to give to Spiros. I had paid him at 9:14 p.m. He had counted the money in front of me. He had nodded. He had said in his Greek-American accent, "Tonight she loses, Tony. Tonight she loses." He was wrong. Tonight nobody lost. And tonight everybody lost. I will explain. Bruce Lee was at Madison Square Garden by accident, or what looked like an accident. Bruce was in New York City for 3 days in October 1971. He had flown from London, where he was filming pickup shots for Way of the Dragon. He was meeting with William Morris Talent Agency about a CBS development deal. He was scheduled to fly back to Hong Kong on October 15th, the morning after our night. His agent was a man named Marvin Klein. Marvin was 36 years old. Marvin lived on West 47th Street in Manhattan. He had told Bruce there was a private demonstration of Western combat sports in the Madison Square Garden basement that night. Bruce was interested in mat wrestling submission techniques. He had never trained in catch wrestling. He brought a notebook. He brought a pen. He brought no friends. He brought no bodyguards. Marvin Klein had arranged the visit through McMahon Sr. McMahon Sr. had agreed because he thought Marvin's client was a 5'2" stuntman named Jerry Lou. He did not know Marvin had two clients with the last name Lee. Bruce arrived at the freight elevator entrance at 10:42 p.m. He was wearing a black t-shirt and dark slacks. He carried a brown leather notebook. The notebook was small, the size of a wallet. He had bought it in Hong Kong in 1969. The freight elevator descended 4 floors. The doors opened on the basement training level at 10:43 p.m. Bruce stepped out. 47 men in suits looked at him. Spiros Karadimos laughed in the corner. Vince McMahon Sr. froze in the middle of a sentence. And Helga Brennan, who had been stretching on the mat, stood up. She looked at Bruce Lee for 4 seconds. Then she looked at me. And she said something I did not understand for 47 minutes. Helga Brennan was born September 4, 1943, in Dusseldorf, Germany. Her father was an Irish-American GI named Patrick Brennan from Boston. Her mother was a German woman named Greta Müller from Cologne. They met during the American occupation. They were married on May 7, 1944. Patrick Brennan was killed on May 3, 1945, 4 days before the German surrender. He was 23 years old. He had been married for almost exactly 1 year. He never met his daughter. Greta Müller Brennan emigrated to the United States in 1948 with her 5-year-old daughter. They settled in Yonkers, New York. They lived in a 2-bedroom walk-up apartment on Riverdale Avenue. Greta worked as a seamstress at a dry cleaner. She earned $24 a week. She raised Helga alone. Helga reached 6 feet 1 inch tall by age 11. She reached 6 feet 9 by age 14. She reached her final height of 7 feet 4 inches at age 17. School records show she was bullied through every grade. Boys threw rocks at her in 4th grade. Girls would not sit with her at lunch in 5th grade. By 7th grade, she stopped going to school. Her mother homeschooled her until age 16. Then her mother died. Greta Müller Brennan died of breast cancer on March 14, 1959. Helga was 16 years old. She was alone. She was 7 feet tall. She did not know what to do. She worked at a Yonkers carnival for 3 years. She was a strong woman attraction. She bent steel bars for $4 per show. The carnival barker called her the German giantess. She wore a leather costume. She did 9 shows a day in the summer. Capital Wrestling promoter Toots Mondt discovered her at the carnival in October 1962. Toots was 67 years old. He had promoted wrestling for 47 years. He offered her $40 per match. He told her, "You won't be a freak anymore. You'll be a champion." Her first wrestling match was December 14, 1962, in Trenton, New Jersey. She won in 3 minutes 47 seconds against a 5'8" woman named Patricia Sullivan. Patricia is alive. She is 84. She lives in Florida. I called her last week. She remembered Helga. She said, "Helga apologized to me after the match. She bought me dinner. She paid for the cab home. I never forgot it." Helga's career: 89 matches over 7 years, 71 wins by submission, 18 wins by injury. The opponent quit because they could not continue. 0 losses. She wrestled in 14 states, 3 Canadian provinces, and 6 European countries. She made appearances in Tokyo, London, and Paris. She broke 11 bones across 89 matches. None of them were her own bones. Her physical specifications: 7'4", 340 pounds. Handspan 11.8 inches. Reach 91 inches. She could lift 480 pounds over her head. She could bench press 410 pounds. Her trainer, Tommy Rocco, said in a 1968 newspaper interview, "Helga is the strongest human being I have ever trained, male or female. She is also the most patient. She does not waste a single movement. She wrestles like a chess player who weighs 340 pounds. But there was something the public did not know. In 1969, Helga had broken the wrist of an Olympic judo silver medalist named Diana Foster. The match was a demonstration in Boston. Diana was 5'9" and weighed 165 pounds. Diana had wrestled with the men's Olympic team. Diana had been Olympic alternate in 1968. Helga broke her left wrist at 47 seconds of the demonstration. Diana's career ended that night. Diana sued Capital Wrestling for $40,000. The case was settled out of court for $14,000. What the public did not know, what Vince McMahon Sr. did not know, was that Helga had been paying Diana Foster's medical bills out of her own salary for 3 years. Helga's salary was $87 a match. Diana's medical bills were $147 a month. Helga had paid them every month for 36 months. She had also been sending Diana a Christmas card every year since 1969. The Christmas cards had no signature. They had a single line in German. Es tut mir leid. I am sorry. Diana kept all of those Christmas cards. She did not know who was sending them until 2018, after Helga's funeral. She showed me the box of cards in her house in Connecticut in 2019. There were 47 cards. One for every Christmas Helga lived after the night she broke Diana's wrist, plus the Christmases before. Helga had been 28 years old in October 1971. She had never been on a date. She had never been kissed. She lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment on West 47th Street. She owned 2 cats, Rocky and Apollo. She read 4 books a week. Her favorite author was Hermann Hesse. She kept a journal in German. The journal is now in the WWE archives in Stamford, Connecticut. I have read 3 pages of that journal. The page I will quote on camera right now is dated September 14, 1971, exactly 1 month before our night at the Garden. The entry reads, "Tonight I broke a man's elbow. He was 6 feet 2 inches tall. He weighed 240 pounds. He smiled at me before the match. He was the first opponent who smiled at me in 4 years. I broke his elbow in 14 seconds. He cried in the ring. I went home and I cried in my bathtub. I do not want to do this anymore, but I do not know how to stop. The match is the only place where I am the right size." That was the woman who walked into the basement of Madison Square Garden on October 14, 1971. Bruce Lee did not know any of this, but Marvin Klein did. I will get to Marvin Klein. At 10:43 p.m., the freight elevator doors opened. Bruce Lee stepped out. 47 men in suits looked at him. He looked at his notebook. He looked up. He nodded politely to the room. He walked to a folding chair against the back wall. He sat down. He opened his notebook. He held his pen ready. The room did not return to its conversation. Spiros Karadimos walked across the mat toward Bruce Lee. He bowed mockingly. He said in English, "Are you here to fight the Iron Valkyrie?" The 47 men laughed. Bruce looked up from his notebook. He smiled politely. He said, "I am here to take notes. Please continue." Helga walked across the mat to where I was standing. She bent down. She had to bend at the waist to speak into my ear. Her breath smelled of mint tea. She said in her slight German accent, "Tony, that man does not belong here. He is here for a reason. Find out the reason." I had worked with Helga for 7 years. I had heard her speak softly maybe 4 times in those 7 years. She did not show fear. She did not show curiosity. She did not show anything. She had never noticed another human being's arrival the way she had just noticed Bruce Lee. I walked across the mat to where Vince McMahon Sr. was standing with 2 ABC television executives. One of the executives was a man named Roger Goodell Sr. Yes, the same family. The other was named Walter Schoenholtz. I whispered to McMahon, "Did you invite the Chinese man?" McMahon shrugged. He said, "Marvin Klein called me yesterday, asked if his client could observe. I said yes. I thought it was Jerry Lou, the 5'2" stuntman. I did not think it was him." Roger Goodell Sr. recognized Bruce Lee at that moment. He turned to McMahon. He said quietly, "Vince, that is Bruce Lee. #1 box office in Hong Kong. 8 movies. CBS is courting him for a full pilot." McMahon's face changed. I had worked for Vince Sr. for 4 years. I had seen him angry maybe 200 times. I had never seen him scared. He was scared at 10:46 p.m. on October 14, 1971. McMahon could not stop the demonstration. The 47 distributors had been promised a Helga match. Spiros had been paid. ABC was considering a $400,000 broadcast deal. But Bruce Lee was now in the room. If something went wrong, if Spiros got hurt, if Helga got hurt, if the small Chinese man saw something embarrassing, the story would leak. CBS would hear. The TV deal would die. McMahon did not stop the match. He looked at me. He said, "Get it over with quickly. Tell Spiros to pin her in 30 seconds. We pay her. We send everyone home." I walked to Spiros to pass the message. I did not get to him. Helga walked across the mat to Bruce Lee's chair. She did not bow. She did not extend her hand. She stood 4 feet away from him. She looked down at his notebook. She said, "What do you write?" Bruce held the notebook up. The page was blank except for one line. "Strength and intelligence are the same skill in different clothing." He said, "I write what I came here to learn." Helga read the line. She read it twice. She nodded once. She walked back to her corner. McMahon Sr. signaled to the timekeeper. The match began at 10:51 p.m. Spiros Karadimos came at Helga with a low, double-leg takedown. It was the move he had trained for 6 months to use against her. Helga sprawled. She got behind him. She had her arms around his waist in 4 seconds. The 47 men in the audience leaned forward. Spiros lasted 51 seconds. It was his longest match against Helga. She broke his collarbone at 47 seconds. He surrendered at 51 seconds. The 47 men did not cheer. They had seen this 23 times before. They were watching Bruce Lee. Bruce had not written a single word during the entire match. He had not blinked. At 10:53 p.m., Helga turned to face the audience. She did not bow. She did not raise her arms. She walked across the mat to Bruce Lee's chair. She stopped 3 feet from him. And she said the 7 words that started the next 47 minutes. "Will you wrestle me, Mr. Lee? Please?" The please was the part I could not forget. I had never heard Helga say please in 7 years. Bruce closed his notebook. He set it on the chair. He stood up. He was 138 pounds. She was 340 pounds. He was 5'7". She was 7'4". He bowed deeply to her. He said, "I will wrestle you. But first, I have one question." He said, "What do you want to learn?" Helga did not answer for 11 seconds. I was watching from 8 feet away. I saw something I had not seen in 7 years. Helga's eyes went wet. She did not cry. The wetness did not become tears, but it was there. She said, "I want to learn how to lose without losing myself." Bruce nodded once. He removed his outer t-shirt. Underneath, he wore a thin black tank top. His arms were not impressive. He walked onto the mat. Vince McMahon Sr. tried to stop the match. He walked toward the mat. Helga turned her head. She looked at McMahon. She said one word. "No." Vince McMahon Sr., the most powerful man in American wrestling, stopped walking. He returned to his chair. He did not speak again for 47 minutes. In the first round, 10:54 p.m. to 10:59 p.m., Helga came at Bruce with a standard collar and elbow tie-up. Bruce did not resist. He let her pull him. He stepped into her, not away. He used her own forward momentum to redirect her past him. She fell to one knee. She had not fallen in 7 years. The 47 men in the audience gasped. McMahon stood up. The ABC executives stopped talking. Helga laughed. It was the first time anyone in that room had heard Helga laugh in 4 years. She got to her feet. She came at Bruce again. In the second round, 11 p.m. to 11:08 p.m., Bruce did not throw her. He did not strike her. He moved like water around her. She lunged. He shifted. She gripped. He breathed. She lifted him 3 feet off the mat at 11:03 p.m. He let her lift him. Then he placed 2 fingers on her radial nerve. Her grip released. He set himself down with the gentleness of a man returning a borrowed cup. In the third round, 11:09 p.m. to 11:18 p.m., Helga was learning. She was watching him. She was studying. By round 3, she had stopped trying to win. She was trying to understand. Bruce was teaching. He was teaching with his body. He showed her, this is how you fall. He showed her, this is how you stand back up. He showed her, this is how you redirect a man twice your size. He showed her, this is how you redirect a man half your size. At 11:19 p.m., 47 minutes after Helga had asked her question, Bruce stepped back. He bowed to Helga. He said, "You asked how to lose without losing yourself. I have shown you. Now I will tell you." He paused. Then he said 9 words. "You do not lose yourself when you choose mercy." Helga did not cry. She did not bow. She stood very still. She closed her eyes. She stood with her eyes closed for 14 seconds. Then she opened her eyes. She walked across the mat to McMahon Sr. She said, "Vince, I am retiring. Tonight is my last match." Vince McMahon Sr. did not argue. He nodded. He said, "I understand." He turned to me. He said, "Tony, get the contract." I walked to the office. I retrieved the standard retirement contract. I handed it to Helga. She signed it at 11:34 p.m. The contract was for $40,000, the standard retirement payout. Helga crossed out the $40,000 figure. She wrote in, 0, donate to Children's Hospital. She signed it. McMahon signed it. I signed as witness. The $40,000 was donated to the hospital for special surgery in New York City on October 28, 1971. I have the donation receipt. I am holding it now. The check was endorsed by Helga Brennan. The signature line shows the maiden name she had not used since age 5. Bruce picked up his notebook. He walked to Helga. He bowed deeply. He said one sentence in German. "Du bist nie zu groß gewesen. Du bist genau die richtige Größe für die Welt, die dich braucht." You have never been too big. You are exactly the right size for the world that needs you. Helga did not respond. She did not bow back. She placed her right hand on Bruce's shoulder for 4 seconds. Then she walked out of the basement. Bruce left through the freight elevator at 11:46 p.m. The 47 men in the audience left in silence. Roger Goodell Sr. cancelled the ABC television deal 4 days later. Vince McMahon Sr. paid me $400 cash to never tell what happened. I have kept that promise for 53 years. The 11 months I have left are not enough time to keep it any longer. That night, October 14, at 11:47 p.m., Helga walked from Madison Square Garden to her apartment on West 47th Street. The walk was 8 blocks. She was 7'4" and weighed 340 pounds. She did not blend in. A taxi driver named Salvatore Russo offered her a ride for free. She accepted. Salvatore is alive. He is 84. He lives in Queens. I called him 6 weeks ago. He remembers the ride. She did not speak during the ride. When he stopped at her building, she gave him a $20 tip on a $0 fare. She said, "Tonight is the last night I am the Iron Valkyrie. Tomorrow I am Helga Brennan again." Salvatore kept the $20 bill in his cab visor for 47 years. It is in a frame on his kitchen wall now. The next morning, October 15, at 6:14 a.m., a messenger arrived at Helga's apartment. He delivered an envelope. Inside the envelope was Bruce Lee's notebook. The notebook had Bruce's handwritten note on the inside cover. "Helga, keep this. Fill it with what you have learned about being the right size. Bruce." He had given her his only working notebook. He flew back to Hong Kong without it. He bought a new notebook in Hong Kong on October 17, 1971. Helga Brennan never wrestled again after October 14, 1971. She was 28 years old. She had 0 losses across 89 matches. She moved out of New York City in November 1971. She enrolled at Yale Divinity School in January 1972 under her birth name, Helga Brennan. She graduated in 1976. She became a hospital chaplain. She worked at Boston Children's Hospital from 1976 until her retirement in 2008. She specialized in pediatric oncology. She specialized in dying children. The hospital made her a special chair because no standard chair could hold her safely. She wore civilian clothes. She did not advertise her wrestling past. Boston Children's Hospital records show Helga ministered to 11,247 dying children between 1976 and 2008. 11,247 children. The hospital staff did not know about her wrestling career until 2018, after she died. The chief of pediatric oncology, a woman named Dr. Sarah Reynolds, gave a eulogy at Helga's funeral. Dr. Reynolds said, "We knew Helga was tall. We knew Helga was strong. We did not know Helga had been the Iron Valkyrie. We did not know Helga had ended the careers of 3 professional wrestlers. We knew Helga as the woman who held our dying children when their parents could not hold them anymore." Helga filled Bruce Lee's notebook over 47 years. Page 1 is dated October 15, 1971. The last page is dated December 8, 2018, 4 days before she died. She wrote 1 sentence per page on average. The notebook is now in the WWE archive. I have photographs of 11 of the pages. I will show you the last page now. The final page entry, December 8, 2018, reads, "Bruce was right. I was never too big. I was the right size for 11,247 dying children. The Iron Valkyrie was a costume. Helga Brennan is the woman who wore it. I am leaving the costume here. I am taking Helga with me. I am reading this entry on camera now. I am sorry. Give me a moment. I am crying. I have not cried about Helga in 6 years. I am 81 years old. I have 11 months. The cancer has not given me much energy for crying. But this entry breaks me. She was 75 years old when she wrote it. She died 4 days later, in her sleep. Her cats Rocky 2 and Apollo 2 were on the bed with her. The neighbors found her at 2:14 p.m. on December 12th. The notebook was open on her chest. The pen was in her right hand. The last sentence was the only writing on the final page. Bruce Lee returned to Hong Kong on October 16, 1971. The notebook entry on page 71 of his black leather notebook, the one in the Bruce Lee Foundation archive in Seattle, reads, "Tonight, I met a woman who was bigger than the world had room for. I gave her my notebook. I do not know what she will do with it. I think she will use it to make the world bigger. The strongest fighter is the one who chooses not to fight. The strongest woman is the one who refuses the costume the world hands her." 47 words. Bruce Lee died 21 months later, on July 20th, 1973, in Hong Kong. He was 32 years old. He never told this story to anyone. Linda Lee Cadwell found the notebook entry in 1979. She did not understand who the woman bigger than the world was. She did not connect it to Helga until I wrote her in 1985. I had to break my $400 promise to McMahon Sr. to write to her. McMahon was still alive then. He never found out. He died in 1984. Linda Lee Cadwell wrote back to me on April 11, 1985. She wrote, "Mr. Marchetti, thank you for the story. Bruce came home from New York that week and he was different. He was quieter. He would not tell me what had happened. I thought maybe the CBS deal had fallen through. He never wanted me to know it had been a 7'4" woman who had taught him something. I think he wanted to protect her privacy. I think he loved her, in a way that has no word in English. I think I do too, now that I know who she was. Please give her my regards if you ever see her again." I gave Linda's message to Helga in May of 1985. I drove to Boston. I waited in the hospital lobby for 3 hours. Helga came down on her break. She was 41 years old. She was wearing a chaplain's collar. She read Linda's letter. She read it 3 times. She handed it back to me. She said, "Tell Mrs. Lee I love her too. Tell her she does not need to thank me. Tell her Bruce paid the debt the night he gave me the notebook." I never gave Linda that message. I am giving it now. Linda, if you are watching, Helga loved you too. Bruce went to Madison Square Garden that night because Marvin Klein had read a journal. The journal had been written by a woman who was crying in her bathtub. Marvin Klein was Helga's neighbor on West 47th Street. He had lived in the apartment next to hers for 3 years. There had been a robbery scare in their building in 1969. 3 apartments were broken into in 1 week. Helga had asked Marvin to keep her journal safe. He had kept it. The robbery never happened on her floor. She forgot to ask for the journal back. Marvin had read it. He was supposed to. He was a writer's agent. Reading was his job. He had read the September 14th, 1971 entry. He had read about a woman who broke a man's elbow and cried in her bathtub afterward. He told Bruce about it on October 10th, 1971, 4 days before our night. Bruce had said 1 sentence. He had said, "Take me there. Tell McMahon I am observing. I will know what to do when I see her." That is not a man going to the wrong basement. That is a man who flew across an ocean to a basement to teach a woman 1 sentence. The sentence was 9 words. The 9 words let her live the next 47 years. The 9 words let 11,247 children die in the arms of a woman who had been told her entire life she was too big. She was not too big. She was the right size for them. Bruce knew first. I have thought about that night every week for 53 years. I used to think the story was about wrestling. Then I thought it was about Bruce Lee. Last year I realized I had been wrong both times. The story is about a woman who was told she was too big, and a man who flew across an ocean to tell her she was the right size. The wrestling was the language they used. The lesson was the message they exchanged. That is the lesson I carry now. Bruce Lee did not save Helga with violence. He saved her with patience. The most violent thing I've ever witnessed in 81 years was a 138-pound man teaching a 340-pound woman that she did not have to wear the costume the world handed her. I do not have the strength to teach anyone anything anymore. I have 11 months. The cancer is in my pancreas. Stage 3. My oncologist is a woman named Dr. May Chen at Memorial Sloan Kettering. She is 47 years old. She is very kind to me. She told me last week, "Mr. Marchetti, you are doing well for your stage. You may have 14 months, maybe 16. I told her about Helga. She cried in her office. She said, "Mr. Marchetti, I read your file. I noticed your address. You live on West 47th Street. The building number is 414. Is that correct?" I said yes. She said, "Mr. Marchetti, my mother lived at 412. She was a single mother in 1989. She had a daughter who was very tall. Her daughter was bullied. The daughter was 12 years old. A neighbor on her floor, a very tall woman in a chaplain's uniform, visited their apartment 47 times that year. The neighbor brought her daughter books. Hermann Hesse. The neighbor told the daughter, "You are not too tall. You are the right size for the world that needs you." The daughter is now 6'2". She is an oncologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering. The daughter is me. I am 81 years old. I have heard a lot of stories. I have not heard a story like this in 81 years. Helga Brennan stayed in that building until 1992. She visited a young girl 47 times in 1989. She gave that girl Bruce Lee's 9 words. That girl is now my doctor. Bruce Lee gave 9 words to Helga in 1971. Helga gave them to a 12-year-old girl in 1989. The 12-year-old girl became an oncologist. The oncologist is keeping me alive long enough to tell this story. That is what 9 words can do. They can travel for 53 years through 3 generations of women. They can keep a dying old man alive long enough to tell the secret he promised not to tell. Bruce knew first. I am 81 years old. I have 11 months, maybe 14, maybe 16. I am unfolding the contract now. The 1971 retirement contract. The one Helga signed. The one where she crossed out $40,000 and wrote $0 and donate to Children's Hospital. The one Vince McMahon Sr. signed in front of me. The one I signed as witness. I am setting it on the table. Next to it, I'm placing the notebook. Bruce Lee's notebook. Helga's notebook. The one Diana Foster has loaned me for this video. Diana is 79 years old. She drove down from Connecticut last week to bring it to me. She is sitting in the next room right now. She will record her interview tomorrow. The camera is tightening on the inside cover of the notebook. You can see Bruce's handwriting. Helga, keep this. Fill it with what you have learned about being the right size. Bruce, I have one thing left to say. Helga was right. She was the right size. She was the right size for Diana Foster's wrist. She was the right size for a 12-year-old girl who became my oncologist. She was the right size for 11,247 dying children. She was the right size for 47 years of Christmas cards. She was the right size for one notebook. She was the right size for one sentence in German on a basement mat in 1971. She was the right size for 9 English words that traveled 3 generations. She was the right size for the world that needed her. Bruce knew first. He flew across an ocean to tell her. She heard him. She lived 47 more years. She held 11,247 dying children. She left the costume in a basement. She took Helga with her. Diana Foster, Connecticut, coming next month. She has 47 Christmas cards. She has the notebook now. She has a story to tell about the wrist that broke in 1969. She has the 9 words Helga wrote on the last day of her life. They were Bruce Lee's 9 words, written one more time, 47 years later. They are the reason Helga died smiling. I am closing the notebook now. I'm putting the contract back in my safe deposit box at Chase Bank, 5th Avenue. I'm going home to my apartment on West 47th Street. I'm going to make tea. I'm going to sit by the window. I'm going to look at building number 412. I'm going to think about a 12-year-old girl who is now my oncologist. I'm going to think about 9 words. I am 81 years old. I have 11 months. But Bruce Lee's 9 words have 53 years and counting. They are still traveling. They will still be traveling when I am gone. That is the lesson. The miracle is not the wrestler. The miracle is the sentence. Make the sentence. Bruce knew first.